To keep this unique character of our hawker centres, our hawker policy will need to reflect three fundamental objectives and principles. First, to ensure that hawker centres remain our community dining room, providing Singaporeans with affordable food options. Second, to ensure hawkers have a decent livelihood, and to ensure that there is long-term sustainability of the hawker trade. And thirdly, to preserve our unique local hawker culture, and the identity that is unique here. But in trying to achieve all three objectives at the same time, we must recognize that there are inherent tensions that sometimes pull in opposite directions. For instance, addressing consumers' desire for lower food prices can inevitably run counter to our wish to support our hawkers in making a decent living. Without a decent income, it will be difficult to attract young Singaporeans who have many other career options to enter this trade. Similarly, allowing more foreigners to work in our hawker centres may alleviate cost and manpower concerns for our hawkers, but it could dilute our local hawker culture and identity and change the feel and nature of our hawker centres. As such, there is a need to strike a balance between the interests of all parties. Hawkers, like all of us, also feel these pressures as the cost of ingredients form a large part of their operating costs, as you have heard from some of the speakers earlier as well. In pricing their food, many hawkers struggle between keeping food affordable for their loyal customers while trying to raise prices to cover the increases in ingredient and manpower costs. It is not easy for hawkers to earn a fair living. Our hawkers are generally mindful of the profile of the customers they serve, and they try their best to hold off any price increases. But hawkers need to be able to price their food realistically and adjust them from time to time. I'm sure many Singaporeans can empathize with this, even as price increases are not always easy to accept for anyone. There is another dimension to this, which is that hawkers inherently face limitations to how much they can sell and earn because they operate the stalls themselves. We try to help hawkers manage their manpower costs while we seek to preserve the local identity of our hawker culture and heritage. Our policy of only allowing Singaporeans and PRs to be stallholders at hawker centres serves to safeguard this precious aspect of our Singaporean identity. I recognize that our hawkers face the practical challenge of hiring non-locals to ease manpower constraints. But a full liberalization for foreign manpower may alter the nature of our hawker centres significantly. And so these are competing tensions, and there are unfortunately no easy solutions. Our recent moves to seek to strike a careful balance by allowing more LTVP or LTVP plus holders who have nexus and ties to Singaporean families to be store assistants would hopefully help in some way. The government fully acknowledges the impact of global inflation on the affordability of hawker food and the livelihood of hawkers. We know the difficult operating environment and challenges our hawkers face, as well as Singaporeans' desire for affordable hawker food. These are difficult tensions to balance, and there is no simple solution or easy fix. We need to find a way as a society to keep hawker fare affordable while ensuring that hawkers can earn a fair living. Underpinning this solution must be a strong social compact that brings all stakeholders together. The government foots the cost of building hawker centres and sets policies to support our hawkers and provide them with a conducive operating environment to ensure that they are able to provide Singaporeans with affordable food at our hawker centres. The local community and private sector has a role in driving ground-up initiatives to support both hawkers and patrons, and we heard many examples earlier. Consumers can support our hawkers by patronizing them and being prepared to pay a fair price for hawkers' food to uplift the livelihoods of our hawkers. Understand how a rental cap could distort the market dynamics. Now, if we set any cap threshold, we give the bidders the assurance that the bids will not go beyond a maximum ceiling. So that is the upside of rental cap. However, doing so could also encourage bidders to bid more competitively towards that threshold, in order to outprice the competition to secure the store. So that could well mean the end of the $1 rental bid stores that we have in the system today. This could in turn lead to overall bid prices trending higher, and the whole allocation system will no longer be fair and meaningful. Even at less popular centers, the rental cap may also have an unintended consequence by inadvertently setting a price point that drives lower rentals upwards towards the cap. I announced last week that we will implement 2 measures to encourage more realistic bidding behavior and better consider actual market conditions. First, and quite important, we will make available more information in online business cost estimation tools. We are introducing this to assist and encourage tenderers to make a more informed decision and to bid realistically when they submit a tender bid for a hawker store. We're working on the details, and we will plan to make public early next year. However, some tenderers may still choose to submit excessively high bids, and this is where our second measure comes in. We will stagger downward adjustment of tendered rent over a longer period, over 2 tenancy renewals instead of 1. Doing so serves to deter prospective hawkers from submitting unrealistic bids. It's one of these suggestions in the PQ. Now, this centralized procurement idea is already present at some SEHCs, where operators have tapped on their network in the F&B and food supply sectors to offer bulk purchasing services. With such services, their storeholders have the option to secure preferential rates for raw ingredients. But from our experience, there are limitations. So far, the uptake among storeholders has not been widespread, as most already have established relationships with their existing suppliers or are quite particular about the source and quality of the ingredients. Remember what I said earlier about the unique nature of our hawker centers is that each store is run by the hawkers themselves with unique recipe, special touches. Everyone has something they want to put as special to differentiate themselves from their competitors. Nonetheless, we will continue to support such initiatives where it benefits our hawkers. I agree with Mr. Leong that to safeguard our hawker trade for future generations, one of our key priorities is to nurture a new generation of young hawkers to take over the reins. To attract more Singaporeans to join the hawker trade, we need to first ensure that hawkers are able to earn a fair living, work in a clean and comfortable environment, and receive the support that they require. This underpins our policies, as I've mentioned earlier. NEA has been working closely with hawkers and stakeholders to attract new hawker entrants and equip them with skill sets to boost their chances of success. This includes 3 key programs that NEA runs to help aspiring hawkers to kickstart their businesses: the Incubation Store Program, ISP, Hawkers Development Program, HDP, and the Hawkers Succession Scheme. Mr. Leong and Mr. Louis Chua proposed setting up a hawker academy to be a focal point for training young aspiring hawkers in Singapore. In fact, we already have a similar academy in place. Under our current Hawkers Development Program, the HDP, NEA and SSG appoints the Asian Culinary Institute, the ACI, under Nanyang Polytechnic to provide training to aspiring hawkers and equip them with the necessary skills for their businesses, such as business strategy and business pricing.
Strangers Gallery at my invitation. I would like to invite the whole House to join me in a round of applause to thank them for their hard work and their dedication to providing good food at affordable prices for Singaporeans. PSP recommends that the Social Enterprise Hawker Centre be phased out and the management of hawkers centralized under a new government agency called Hawker Singapore. We have also proposed a new rent model which will charge lower rent and is intended to have ripple effects on rents in coffee shops and food courts. Next, we propose allowing each hawker store to employ 1 work permit holder as store assistant. Finally, instead of forcing hawkers to provide budget meals at their own expense, the government should pay for targeted food discounts for Pioneer, Merdeka, and Charles card holders at all hawker centres and provide lower income households with more CDC vouchers.
The subsidizing of public housing, public transport, and healthcare are examples of considering both social and economic factors in essential goods and services. We believe that hawker food qualifies as another case deserving special consideration. We have therefore proposed that the allocation of hawker stores should not be based on highest rent tendered. Instead, we propose a predetermined rent structure to keep rental costs under control. We believe that this proposal will be a game changer for hawkers. If rent is not the mechanism used to allocate hawker stores, how should they be allocated? We have said earlier that one way to do so is by random ballot. Another possible way is to allow the customers to decide. For example, for hawker centres located near HDB flats, let the residents nearby vote for their desired stores through a small food fair or competition. Hawker Singapore will ensure that the stores that are chosen can still meet the needs of different ethnic groups. We can set up a centralized procurement system where the new agency, Hawker Singapore, can contract with wholesalers to supply hawkers with ingredients that are commonly used by hawkers, such as cooking oil, rice, flour, sugar, salt, and eggs, at lower prices through bulk purchasing. Hawkers have the option to get their supplies through such arrangements, or they could still choose to use their own suppliers if they think that it is of better quality or it gives them some other competitive advantage. We believe that such a system would have a very substantial impact on reducing the cost of living in Singapore. I would like to emphasize that no hawker will be forced to get their supplies through PSP's proposed centralized procurement system. Additionally, the government will not provide any subsidies to hawkers through the system. All savings will come from bulk purchasing the ingredients from wholesalers.
Our attention, the platform workers. I regard our local hawkers as another group of workers essential to the functioning of our society that really need our attention. Today, in the 21st century, hawkers are facing tremendous headwinds with high rental, shortage of manpower, unfair competition, and increasing constraint from corporatization. But the persistent society's expectation to provide cheap and good food. This situation is not sustainable. At the rate we are going, our traditional hawker culture, which is based on the hard work and enterprise of individual hawkers, will slowly wither away. Corporatization of the hawker trade is a natural development of the market economy, but we can ensure a more level playing field for our individual hawkers to thrive and flourish. The current plight of our hawkers is at least partly due to the policies laid down by the government. The onus is now on the government to consider our suggestions to provide better support for hawkers in the future. The PSP is ready to support the amended motion, which is not too different from the original motion tabled by me. This is to show that this House is united in our support for hawkers.